Hello everyone, this is Wandering Tati. This time we will continue looking at the most common cognitive biases, those sneaky mental shortcuts that shape the way we see the world. Cognitive biases are certain tendencies we might have that drive us to act in an irrational way due to our limited ability to process information objectively. None of us is exempt from those, so it's always a good thing to recognize them, as they could potentially cloud our judgment and affect how clearly we perceive situations, people, or potential risks. The first bias we will see today is the halo effect. Have you ever met someone who's super charming, or maybe they are really good looking and because of that you assume that they are great at everything else? That's the halo effect. It happens when our impression of one positive trait, like beauty, intelligence, or charisma, spills over into our overall perception of the person, even in areas where they might not be actually competent. The psychologist Edward Thorndike was the first to say the halo effect is a specific cognitive bias in which one aspect of the person, brand, or product or institution may affect one's thoughts or judgments of the entity's other aspects or dimensions. Our judgments are associative and automatic, so if we want to be objective, we need to consciously control the irrelevant influences. This is especially important in a professional setting. Think about job interviews. A candidate with an impressive appearance or a smooth presentation may be rated higher in skills that they haven't actually demonstrated, just because we've already formed a positive opinion about them. And on another disturbing note, things like attractiveness can unduly influence issues as important as jury deciding someone's guilt or innocence. For example, if Henry Cavill is accused of any crime, we all know he's innocent, right? Even if he has no alibi whatsoever, we know that he was building a PC while simultaneously playing World of Warcraft. The second bias of the day is in-group bias. This is the tendency to favor people who belong to the same group as us, whether that group is based on nationality, gender, race, or even something silly like supporting the same football team.
I hate the Yankees.
Yeah, you are all villains to me because I happen to live in this region of the country. Yeah!
We tend to see those in our group in a more positive light, while often being more critical or suspicious of outsiders. We like to think of ourselves as being all fair and impartial, but the truth is that we automatically favor those that are most like us, or that belong to the same groups. This blind tribalism has evolved to strengthen social cohesion, but now, in this modern and multicultural world, it can have the opposite effect. So how to overcome it? Try to imagine yourself in the position of those in the out-groups, while also attempting to be dispassionate when judging those who belong to your in-groups. Next, we'll see the fundamental attribution error. Here, you judge others on their character, but yourself on the situation. For example, if someone's rude to you, you might assume that they are a rude person. But in reality, they might be having the worst day of their lives, and if we knew this, maybe we would even empathize with them. On the flip side, when we do something wrong, we tend to blame it on our circumstances. Yes, I was late because of traffic, not because I'm a disorganized person. In my case, it's true, it was because of traffic. If you haven't had a good night's sleep, you know that you're being a bit slow. If you observe someone else being slow, then you don't have such knowledge, so you might just presume that they are a slow person. You only observed a couple of minutes of the person's life, but it somehow drives us to make assumptions about their whole character, and this is terribly unfair. So we should try to be mindful and decide on taking personal responsibility rather than justifying and blaming. We are usually underestimating circumstantial factors to explain other people's problems. It is not only kind to view others in a more charitable way, but it is in fact more objective as well. Now we will have a look at the sunk cost fallacy. Did you, like me, perhaps kept reading a book you find intolerably boring because you have already read like more than half of it? Do you also keep watching a show that you are not sure you even enjoy just because you already watched like 10 episodes of it? Then we might have fallen victims to this bias. Let's face it, no show gets good after episode 10. By this point, it is either for you or it isn't. Or what do you think? Is there any show that gets good after many episodes? Let me know in the comments below. To be fair, sometimes we might be too quick to pass from something that we could end up really liking. For instance, I wasn't so invested in Game of Thrones at the beginning, but I kept watching and then it paid off. Until it didn't. But by then I was already in the last season, so... Oh... The sunk cost fallacy happens when you irrationally cling to things that have already cost you something. When we have invested our time, money or emotion into something, it hurts to let it go. A sunk cost is something we cannot recover, so it's rational to disregard the cost when evaluating. For example, if you spend money on a meal but you only feel like eating half of it, it is irrational to continue to stuff your face just because you've already paid for it. Although I have to admit that I've probably done that in the past. A classic example of the business world is Blockbuster. You know, that place where we used to get actual physical copies of VHS first and then DVDs. When streaming services started gaining popularity, Blockbuster doubled down on its physical stores instead of adapting. They had invested so much in their old model that they couldn't just cut their losses and switch gears, which ultimately led to their downfall. To regain objectivity, ask yourself, had I not already invested something, would I still be doing this? What would I tell a friend if they were asking for advice in the same situation? The next bias is the bystander effect. This bias refers to the phenomenon where people are less likely to offer help to someone in need when there are other people around. The more bystanders there are, the less likely it is that anyone will intervene, because everyone will just assume that someone else will step in. A terrifying real-life example is the infamous case of Kitty Genovese, a woman who was attacked in 1964 in New York City. Multiple people reportedly heard her screams, but no one came to help, believing that someone else would call the police.
I remember reading something about that.
Yeah, a young woman stabbed 14 times, then raped outside her building in the East Village.
Yeah, while 40 of her neighbors turned up their TVs so they couldn't hear the screams.
So what, they had TVs but no phones?
Oh, they called the police, all right, about 45 minutes later. Should have heard the excuses. Everybody assumed somebody else called it in.
When something terrible is happening in a public setting, we can experience a kind of shock and mental paralysis that will distract us from the sense of personal responsibility. Remaining self-aware in this kind of stressful situations requires a lot of effort. If there is an emergency situation, always assume you are the one who will help or call for help. You know, as they say, be the change you want to see in the world. That was the last bias I had planned for the video. There's still plenty more to learn, so if you would like me to cover some of the others, let me know. How about you? Which of these biases do you think you've fallen victim to the most? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to support the channel. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Until next time! Charitable way. Come on, dog. For example, if Henry Cavill is accused... For example...